here you go, 28 counts of why I don't trust the FBI. Number one, before I get started, they report to no one. And if they do get called on the carpet at the Congress, their response is, I can't speak about an ongoing investigation. That's their level of accountability. Whereas your local police department responds to a chief of police that responds to a mayor that's elected by the people. A deputy sheriff reports to the sheriff's elected by the people. He answers back to the community. Not so with the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Not so with them at all. All right? Here's my problem. 27 count indictment, why I say they are guilty of the closest thing to treason that you can find. Number one, the FISA warrants. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each one of these counts, but I think you know the story. In the summer of 2016, the FBI launched a deep state operation known as Crossfire Hurricane to stop Donald Trump's candidacy and his presidential ambitions. It began by targeting George Papadopoulos, and then it went and continued to target many others. But not one of the 4 FISA warrants obtained by the FBI was legal. None of them were legally justified. According to the Department of Justice, Inspector General Michael Horowitz's report, they were all illegal. So there's problem number one. Why don't we trust the FBI? Really? And I'm only on the first count. In fact, 2 of these warrant applications to spy on Page was declared illegal by a federal judge. Following Horowitz's blistering report outlining the FBI misconduct throughout the entire operation, another federal judge declared that the agency had malfeasance and calls into question whether information contained in other FBI applications are reliable. Ladies and gentlemen, the FBI knew that the dossier lacked credibility, the Christopher Steele dossier. They knew it as early as January 2017. They knew that Steele's material itself contained Russian disinformation. They knew it. Desperate to continue their deep state operation, they lied to the FISA court. Why don't I trust the FBI? What a stupid question. I'm not going to continue, but I've got 3 pages of notes about those FISA warrants. Number 2, misleading the Congress. That's indictment number 2. Following the collapse of their Russia collusion hoax, lawmakers on Capitol Hill began demanding answers about FBI misconduct. So who did they bring in? James Comey. And what did he do? Lied to Congress. Why don't I trust the FBI? Claiming the Bureau was only investigating 4 individuals, which did not include Donald Trump. But late in July of 2016, the FBI did in fact open a counterintelligence investigation into Donald Trump himself, and Comey said it never happened. That was proven wrong by Horowitz, the leader or the Inspector General of the DOJ. And I could continue, trust me. Indictment number 3, misleading the Department of Justice leaders. Not only was Congress led astray by FBI officials as they conducted a rogue operation to defend the incumbent regime, but so was senior leadership misled in President Trump's Department of Justice. Handwritten notes revealed in the Sussman trial exposed how the FBI agents sought to cover up malicious misconduct, wherein DOJ leaders tasked the FBI oversight were misled by the FBI. And then you have Peter Strzok and Lisa Page that were leading Crossfire Hurricane. And Page insured, or Strzok insured Page of a mysterious insurance policy in place if Trump was to be elected. And here's what he continued to say, according to the DOJ inspector. He said in the 2019 report that they were going easy on Clinton because she might be our next president. When Page fretted that Trump might win, Peter Strzok assured her, "We will stop it. Why don't I trust the FBI?" 3 counts against them so far. Count number 4, misleading Trump. Comey thought the Crossfire Hurricane investigation was important enough to brief President Obama while he was leaving office, but he never briefed President Trump. He kept him in the dark. In fact, Comey later confirmed that he told Trump 3 times the president was not being investigated. So they misled Congress, the Department of Justice. They misled President Trump. The next count, Michael Flynn. I'm not even going to go over that, but if you know the Michael Flynn story, that's my next problem with the FBI. The next count, Andrew McCabe. The former FBI deputy director, McCabe, was fired from his top role at the Bureau. Why? For lying to the Inspector General 4 times over multiple abuses during his tenure as senior leader. Next, the Clinton emails. The FBI told journalists there was no evidence that a foreign power had reviewed Clinton's emails that she improperly handled on a private server. But according to the Inspector General's report, the texts show that they certainly did and that they were classified. It is more accurate to say, according to a text from Peter Strzok, that we know that foreign actors obtained access to some of her emails. Now watch. The FBI told journalists that no foreign power had seen them, and Peter Strzok admitted that a foreign power had seen them. Why don't I trust the FBI? What about Weiner's laptop? Has everybody forgotten in 2008 that Comey told lawmakers over the course of the investigation in the Clinton emails that agency officials thoroughly reviewed the laptop belonging to Uma Abedin and her now ex-husband Anthony Weiner? The FBI was able to accomplish such a feat within a short time frame thanks to the wizardry of our technology, he said, enabling agents who worked night after night after night to comb through all of those, but virtually nothing they said was true. In fact, a technical glitch prevented FBI technicians from comparing the emails with the old emails. Only 3,000 of 700,000 emails were directly reviewed by the FBI. They lied, they lied, they lied. Next, Roger Stone in 2019. You already know what happened. I'm not even going to tell you. Next, the January the 6th Capitol riot. Oh yeah, I'm not even going into all that, my Lord, have mercy. Next, Kamala Harris on January the 6th. The Justice Department was forced to admit that Harris was not in the building on January the 6th, even though the FBI said she was. Why don't I trust the FBI? Hunter Biden, suppression. Why don't I trust the FBI? the Gretchen Whitmer plot? Why don't I trust the FBI? What about the Ralph Northam plot? Why don't I trust the FBI? What about the Senator Ted Stevens conviction? What about Representative Jeff Fortenberry's conviction? What about the Pulse nightclub shooting? I wished I had time to tell you what happened with that, when 49 people were killed because Islamic terrorists killed them, and the FBI lied to us that they were not Islamists. Why don't I trust the FBI? Next, what about the Texas synagogue attack? They lied to us. Yeah. You remember when 44-year-old Malik Akram took hostages in that Texas church? A Pakistani national known as Lady Al-Qaeda. Do you know that the FBI in charge of that investigation said that the attack on the synagogue had nothing to do with targeting Jews? It was a lie. They confessed later it was anti-Semitism. They lied. Why don't I trust the FBI? What about the congressional baseball shooter that they lied about? Next, what about inflating extremism cases? Whistleblowers claim the FBI is inflating the number of domestic violence extremism. What about ignoring the Larry Nassar abuse? What about Kyle Rittenhouse? Why don't I trust the FBI? What about demonizing James Rosen? What about the deadly wrongful conviction, 2007 ruling against the government? The FBI paid $102 million after agency misconduct resulted in the deaths of 2 men. In order to protect a mob informant, the FBI was caught deliberately withholding evidence in a case. They had to pay $102 million. Why don't I trust the FBI? And Martha Stewart, I won't even go there. They convicted her on the most stupid thing in the world. It wasn't even a crime. And then what about the Mar-a-Lago raid? Why don't I trust the FBI? I've given you 27 reasons why I don't trust them. And that's why you need to know. I've given you information. I wish that I had time to tell you about every one of those instances and give you all the details. Then you would know why this is a political witch hunt against our president, the Raid of Mar-a-Lago, and why it will come to nothing, and why the FBI always gets egg on their face. And this time, they're going to get a whole pie in their face from what they've done to our president. 27 count indictment. What about the Las Vegas shooting, Martha White? You're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, somebody's talking about Martha. Let me tell you, that story about Martha Stewart, it's heartbreaking. They had to make up a law to even get her. And basically, they got her for lying. That's what they got her for. The liars convicted her for lying. Ruby Ridge. Thank you, Brother Trust. What about Ruby Ridge? My God, let's not even go back to Waco. I've been to Waco. I've sit there. I've been on the ground. I've spoke to the people that still live there. Boy, you want to talk about heartbreaking. The FBI. The FBI will have to face God with what they did to them. I hope tonight I've given you so much knowledge and so much information that you become the most dangerous weapon against liberalism